Welcome back to Warzone and welcome aboard the F3D-1, which is one of the new American jets, and it actually opens up the fourth chat lines for the Americans. And you know, before this game I actually wanted to make a video like, is this another rant? Is this just another discussion about a bad chat? And to all intents and purposes, the chat itself is actually not bad at 8.0 for an 8.0 chat. It's not very good, but the final nail in the coffin for this plane is, the constant uptier into 9.0 chat. And in fact, the gameplay that you see in the background is a 9.0 chat gameplay, and we see actually that we are already climbing while the rest of our team is starting from the airfield. That is due to an air start, much like the F-84 Thunderjet, and the reason for that is probably the role this plane kind of fulfills, which is, well, let's put it that way, it's designated as a jet/naval fighter, but it comes after the 84 Sky Raider, which is an attacker, a very good attacker that you also can abuse for killing inferior German planes, but it is more about that you abuse it in this role, which is also very good in because it has a high altitude or a higher altitude spawn. So as we can see, we have the first customer here, which is an SO 8000 and 4050, sorry about this, an SO 4050, and they are very fast. They have a high altitude spawn. They just bomb a base and then try to go head on with everything, and you kind of struggle against those, and you can see me flying here very passively. Now the plane is having a lot of bad things and a few good things going for it. The weapons, your usual for 20mm for the Americans, decent when they're upgraded, but not that precise if they are stuck, very shotgun like. 800 rounds though, that is actually pretty good, and I'm using here the universal belt, so 50-50 ratio of high explosive and armor piercing incendiary. It just has done the best damage so far, and I still have to get used to the fuselage, bottom fuselage mounted guns. So the next candidate is an Me-163, and I have some altitude. The plane is not particularly fast, it's not a very maneuverable plane, but the sweet spot is around about 500-600 kilometers per hour before you go into a turn, and you can make one turn, and that turn is relatively okayish. You have an air brake that prevents you from overspeeding, and you have also flaps, but they already begin to rip at around about 450 kilometers an hour, and that is not a recipe for good matches against 9.0 jets. And this Me-163 is turning around. I gladly take the head on, I pull up, I hit him, and you can see I made the pull up relatively early on. I do not have the expert qualification, and that would give me a bit of an advantage in terms of blacking out the pilot, or preventing it rather. The plane itself is fully upgraded, again thanks to golden skill birds from Gaijin, and that allowed me to actually get the kill on the Me-163, which kind of underestimated my turning capabilities. You're not a dedicated turner, you are very sluggish, and it just takes too long to get guns on target. This is a fact, and again it feels more like an attacker than a real fighter. To give you a further impression, just for the sake of the argument, the F-84 Thunderjet is more or less a fighter that has to fulfill the role, or can fulfill the role, of an attacker. And it's actually a pretty good fighter energy-wise. The F3D-1 is actually the other way around. It's an attacker that is pressed into the role of a fighter. And your bomb load and your maximum loadout is also not the very best. By the way, look at this fight against the MiG-15 BIS, and yeah, I turned around, I turned into him, made myself a relatively unattractive target. I'm gladly taking here this stall fight because while the MiG-15 is very good and has very strong engines, it's not that good that it can turn around, loop over and engage me in this situation. So now I'm behind him. I have no use for this position as he outspeed me, as he will outspeed me and outrun me and out accelerate me, and you know, the usual thing. But I'm not in front of his guns. That is the only benefit of this situation. So I was talking about the ground striking capabilities. Yes, you have your 420mm for open top vehicles, so to speak, in tank RB, and you know, you have 2 Tiny Tims, or as maximum bomb load 2 2,000 pound bombs. I see the Voiture coming in, his engine is smoking, and again I turn around and I remember the sluggish handling, the bad correction capabilities of the Voiture. I pull some negative Gs in the right moment. It's all muscle memory. You do not really think about which kind of maneuvers that you have to take. And again, I'm behind him, and you can see how the plane is rolling around and wobbling all over the place, and how it just refuses at lower speeds to follow my orders. By the way, I'm running here 92% throttle. Again, there is another CL-13 that I need to challenge. You know, I cannot let him get on my tail, because once a plane like this is on my tail, I don't have good chances of getting rid of it. And in this battle, the common theme is that nobody actually really challenged me. That's the thing, with the exception of the Me-163 and yeah, this MiG-15 bis. I saw him on the radar. Again, evasive actions and so forth. So cherry picking your targets, being a vulture. Again, very passive playstyle. I've talked in the past quite often about it. This G91 is somewhat presenting himself as a option to shoot at. It's officially another 8.0 jet, and I kind of critted his elevator. However, he is still capable of turning around, so I have to zoom away. And because I was relatively high in speed, which is around about 700 to 800 kilometers an hour, I had the opportunity to zoom away from him. High speed for this plane, it can go around about 900 kilometers an hour max speed. The Voiture is again back on my tail, but while he has the hunter performance, he does not quite have the hunter, you know, handling, which is also not the very best. And again, I'm gladly taking here the scissor fight, and I hit him. Yes, and he is not much faster than me. This is a common mistake of Voiture players, and I set his engine on fire. And believe me, that felt so damn good. That felt so damn good. I was like, yes, and I kept shooting him. You do not escape me this time, my friend. And a double kill? Wait, what? The G91 crashed! Yes! Double kill. 3 kills already. I'm leading the team on kills in an 8.0 plane that has the performance for all intents and purposes of a slightly better Me-262, what it feels like. And I'm not talking here about the C variant. No, the A1A. Maybe the Sturmvogel, you know, the A12, whatever the designation is. The rare event one with the nice camouflage. So, at first I thought about, wait, what is the purpose of this plane? I mean, it cannot do anything better than any other, you know, American jet that is already in the game. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, and it's completely misplaced. It's a 7.0, 7.3 jet, something like this, especially when we look at the Yak-23, which completely destroys this plane, and you have no chance whatsoever against normally flown Yak-23 in a normal jet versus jet engagement, because he out accelerates you, he out climbs you, he out zoom climbs you, he out rolls you, out dives you, out accelerates you, and keeps also the performance to even up to over 10 kilometers. And I've flown this thing myself. Stock, what you see in the background is a fully upgraded plane, except for the bomb loads out, because I don't think they are necessary for a plane that is driven into the fighter role, and you cannot really make really fun gameplay out of, you know, bombing bases and then being at low altitude with low speed with even more drag. So MiG-15 going head on. At this point in time, Yeah, that was a nice crit. At this point in time, I'm reckless. I'm going head on. And I gladly take here the hit from the MiG-15 and I destroy him for my 4th kill. That is amazing. And now you can see the inner wing part of the left wing is black. That means this is just short before wing ripping. If I would have died right here, it would have been fully worth it. This is the extreme exception. Okay, I played around 12, 13 games in this fully upgraded plane, and I can tell you it doesn't take damage so well. And the other MiG-15 died. So this is my 2nd double strike for an ace. Oh my god, at this point in time I was really excited. I was out of words. I was just thinking to myself, what the hell just happened? Of all the previous battles where I just was ruffle stormed, where I tried to fly defensively as well, maybe a bit too defensive, I couldn't make the difference, I didn't have any impact whatsoever on the gameplay, and I don't know, but this was just fully worth it, and it was just such a relief, and wow, I was so happy. Both engines are now damaged, one from the head-on with the 2nd MiG-15 and now the 2nd from the SPA. I go a bit down with the throttle to allow the engines to cool down, but they overheat immediately once I get back to 100%. So I try to hold the plane, you know, in the air. I'm struggling. The last enemy player is in a TU4. I don't have the lifetime, I don't have the climb rate, the energy retention, and also the ammunition and the survivability to take on a TU4 from this point in time on. I have to RTB and hope that the rest of my team, where there are kind of at least 4 jets around here, can deal with this TU4. TU4 is really nasty, and if you allow him to stay alive for long enough, he can reach altitudes at which a lot of jets lose a lot of their power output. Except the Yak-23, because it's a 7.3 Russian jet. Yeah. And you know, I did this stock. You know, this is such a huge gap in performance that I really have to ask myself, who's in charge of battle ratings at Gaijin? Really, you know, this will be the last battle in this chat for a while, because by itself the chat is barely competitive at 8.0. It's a bit sluggish and slow and heavy and very situational. It's not competitive. It's not something that you take out and expect to get good results, you know. Many people said it's bad and don't fly it and whatsoever. But I said, well, I want to try it out, you know, and maybe I'm a masochist at this point in time. I felt like it, or the many battles before that I've you know, felt like it, and I was really asking myself, what the hell I'm doing here? I'm wasting here precious gameplay time, you know, and I'm observing here the Saber taking on the TU4, and I'm really surprised that he's not taken down and shot down by the very bad TU4. Which is still the bane of even high-tier chat gameplay. I've lost numerous 9.0 battles before they really began, due to TU4s and nobody taking the risk of taking on. I saw so many jets of my team getting wasted by trying, you know, taking on TU4s, and that's really a shame. TU4 more than deserves the high repair cost. It's really one of those problematic bombers. If you remember, Gaijin has desperately tried to keep the bomber in the game and nerfed everything around it. Many other bombers have lost their abilities to decide their games by bombing out the enemy bases. Some rare cases are at low tiers, BV-238, which is also a problematic German premium plane, yeah, and so forth. So Gaijin sometimes seems to have their problem childs, where they just refuse to admit that something is wrong, and then they nerfed the 23mm, which didn't affect really the tier 4 but all other Soviet jets, and yeah, they increased their base health and so forth, all the good things. I didn't read the message with the Q4 getting shot down. I now try to accelerate and try to survive, and here is the game. And I got shot down and team killed at the end of the game. It doesn't register as a death, and at this point in time I was really in such a good mood that I was just laughing about it. Oh, 15,000 silver lines. Yeah, thank you, Gaijin. Let me just add it to my 101 million silver lines. 102,000 silver lines for the match and 7,000 research points. Decent, okay-ish result. It should have been way more, because this is a very rare result at chat level. Yeah, I also was first in team with 3,421 score points. Very good battle, and I was really relieved. I was so glad that I had this battle, and I hope you enjoyed watching this gameplay as much as I enjoyed at the end of having this result. So don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies of War Thunder.